Good day, everyone. This is Meredith Leon-McCormack for Sharp Magazine Middle East. And I have a treat for you. I have one of the most respected people in the industry that is making waves, connecting and building bridges to two regions, the Caribbean and MENA. That means we are going to learn about culture and art, not from the eyes of just tourists and running around, but we're going to be learning it from Your Excellency, Ambassador Gilbert Bustani. Is that right? Did I say that name right?
You said it too fancy. you made you made me sound very, very special in that way.
Well, your people think you are very special, I have to say. They think
Thank
you're
you.
pretty fabulous.
Thank
So
you.
please, I just want you to tell our amazing listeners globally, although this is Sharp Magazine Middle East, we still are heard and read globally. Can you please tell them first who you are, your full name, and your title?
I'm Gilbert Bustani. I am the Consul General of Antigua and Barbuda in Miami, Florida, and also the Dean of the Consular Corps here in Miami, Florida. But also I have a second role as Ambassador to the United Arab Emirates for Antigua and Barbuda.
So, didn't you show at the Expo 2020 in the UAE?
Yes. The main focus in the UAE for 6 months, starting in October of 2021 to
Mhm.
2022 to the end of March, was Expo 2020. As you know, it was supposed to start in October of 2020, but because due to the COVID around the world and restrictions and lockdowns, it was extended and delayed for 1 year.
Right.
It was a very, very successful exposition. 192 countries showcased at Expo in Dubai, and it was what most people would actually say or would call it the miracle in the desert, because for what the UAE has achieved, or the rulers and the government and the people of the UAE achieved to create Expo, it was nothing short but a miracle of what they did and how extensive it is. I mean, you have some of the marvels, architectural buildings that were built there. I mean, you have, for example, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's building is coming out of the ground at an angle of like 45 degrees, and freestanding in a glass building. I mean, it's spectacular. Some of the things I'm pretty sure that quite a few people have seen. It's still online and it still exists today. The city exists today. So it is something that whenever anyone visits Dubai, it is a beautiful place to go and see. It's turned into now Expo, not Expo, but Expo City, um,
Wow.
where they've turned it into something really marvelous, where it's like for startup companies and everything is available within a 15-minute radius of walking to that person. So it's a village that they've created there. Throughout Expo, the 6 months, they've had over 20 million visitors within Expo, and that is nothing short, but also another something great, a great success for the UAE.
Right.
Because as you remember, right in the middle of it is when in January of 2021,
Mhm.
earlier this year, of January of 2022, earlier this year, right smack in the middle, after 3 months of Expo being open, we had the largest second wave of COVID hit around the world, and it was a lot of lockdowns happening. So to recover from that and to keep it going and to keep everyone safe, where even all of us who were working within on-site and so on had to be tested every 48 hours, and very strict policies, mandatory mask wearing, social distancing, everything. They kept us safe. They kept everyone safe that was involved in Expo. And to keep 20 million visitors safe and to keep your country safe it's a accomplishment that is nothing short but a miracle, and a great job done.
And, I've been to Dubai several times for about 6 years. I've been going back and forth. It is one of the most, for me, the experience. I've been to Qatar, I've been to Egypt, I've been to different parts of the region, and I have appreciation for it. Um, but the thing about Dubai, the sons, the sheikhs are very involved. The young people are very committed to upbuilding and diversifying the region. So, what is it? What is the bridge that you're looking to put together between Antigua, Barbuda, and you and just Dubai, the whole region?
So, um, in Dubai is, let's talk specifically about Dubai. Dubai is an ultra luxury destination.
Mm-hmm,
It's no longer considered a five-star. I think they're now considered a six-star destination
mm-hmm.
in terms of everything that you have to offer, the hotels, the services, everything that the city offers
Right.
is star. Um, and it's a young, very, very young city. So
Mhm.
all of this was developed, I would say, in the last 25 years,
Right.
25 to 35 years. And having done that, Antigua and Barbuda is also an ultra luxury destination. That's how we
I
started.
can attest with that because I've
So,
been there.
but I'm sure that you did not know that Antigua and Barbuda's tourism industry or
Mm,
ultra luxury tourism industry started in 1947.
mhm.
It started with the Mill Reef Club, and that started as an ultra luxury place of that no one knew of to actually go. You can go and see the history of it. You just go to
Mhm,
millreef.ag,
mhm.
millreefclub.ag, and you should be able to get all of the information and the history. But that was done right after the Second World War, and it attracted all of the aristocrats from the United States, the Kennedys, all the who's who.
Right.
And it created this five-star destination that still is authentic. It was not the glamour. We don't have the glamour that Dubai might have in terms of, the largest chandeliers in the world and this and that. But what you did see was all natural, authentic, real, simple living that
Right.
most people crave. It's also
Absolutely.
another ultra luxury, because sometimes luxury is not in what we see and what we taste and what we hear, but it's sometimes just peace of mind and
There
having
is.
a relaxation and having the space and having the weather and having a breeze blow in your face. That is luxury. That is a
And
luxury that most
food.
people don't have.
The
Well,
cuisine is impeccable.
in Antigua, there's a saying, we're a little bit pleasantly plump, most of us in Antigua, and there's a saying that, like, I would normally say, I'm not fat by accident. We love food. So it's okay to love food because we have such great tasting foods in Antigua that we've created. We have a culture that derived, a melting pot that derived from all over the world.
Right.
So we've blended cultures. Me, myself, my heritage
Right.
is actually Lebanese. My family has been in Antigua since 1892. All
Right.
right. They left and ran away from Lebanon through a plague. In 1890, they went to New York and then got sent out of New York and then put on a boat. And the first boat that boat went to was Antigua. That's how my family ended up in Antigua in 1892. And because of this, with this Lebanese heritage of mine and understanding the culture and still eating foods from the culture that was passed on and traditions and so on, it gave me a bit of an advantage to be a natural candidate to be the ambassador for the UAE because of the culture are very similar. All cultures
Exactly.
there are very quite similar. So it made it a candidature, and they didn't pay me, so there was no salary involved. So I had to do this pro bono.
They had nothing to lose. Is that what you're trying to say?
So they just said, you know what, he's going to do it.
Well, I loved reading about the rich history
So
because of the island, because
correct,
I think for a long time they kept calling everybody that came from the region, they call them all Syrians.
well,
I was
yes.
reading about that. But it was such a beautiful history lesson to see
Yes,
how so many from the region came to the island
that's
and
right.
made it their home.
Not only did they come there to the island in those days, but then they sent back for more family members to come. And not only did they only come to Antigua, but they came to all of the other Caribbean islands as well.
Right. In
So
Haiti
you,
as well. And that's where I'm from. So
where?
I'm from Haiti.
Yes. So
So
I actually have cousins in Haiti. So to give you an idea, correct. So not only Haiti, Guadeloupe is another. I have a lot of family in Guadeloupe. I have a lot of family in Barbados, in Trinidad, in Jamaica. I have in all the islands. I would have family, relatives of mine. I even
Right.
have family in Cuba, believe it or not.
Hmm.
So the peoples had spread all throughout, and most of them, their work was merchants. They were most merchants because that's what naturally they do. Um, in terms of our going back to our resort development and Dubai's to twin it, um, having such a knowledge, Antigua is well versed in the 5-star destination.
Hmm.
We know what the 5-star clientele wants, and
Hmm.
we give it to them. But not only we give it to them, it is naturally given to them because Antigua naturally provides all of these things. Because number one, we have the friendliest people in all of the Caribbean. That is a known fact. You won't find friendlier people than Antigua and Barbuda, or Antiguans and Barbudans. We're just all very friendly. We're all very welcoming, and we'll all try and sell you on our island being the best. It's just natural for us to do that. So it makes it's very little effort. And I told you, yes, I'm doing as the ambassador for the UAE, and it's a non-paid role that I'm doing, but it's like such a pleasure for me because it's something doing which naturally I love, which is selling my island, encouraging folks to come there, to Antigua, to visit Antigua, attracting foreign direct investment, which is my number one goal. Because, for example, we have, and right now we have the number one resort in the Caribbean is the Jumbi Bay Resort. All right.
Hmm.
It is the number one in the Caribbean and voted number 5 best resort in the world,
Wow.
operated by Otka Collection. It is, I don't think if you try to get a space right now for December, January, or February, I don't think it will be available until 2025. To
What?
give you an example, correct. And then you have anywhere on Jumbi Bay resorts, from $5,000 an evening, a night, to 50,000 a night, depending on what you're catering for. So it caters for the ultra luxury,
Right.
similar to what Dubai does. But Dubai
Right.
has multiple of those hotels. We only have one.
Right.
But to give you an idea, there's a big niche for more of those boutique style. I think
Right.
COVID has really taught us a big lesson when it comes to in the hotel sector. Um, I don't think what is needed anymore are these big, in the Caribbean. I'm talking. I'm not talking about whether we're in the United States or in a developed industry country. I'm talking about in a Caribbean island that is small. I think that you get more profitability, you get less intense capital investment needed, you get higher productivity, and you get higher payment to all of the local employers that are employed by having boutique style 6-star resorts, residential and resort style. So instead of having a 400 room, $100 or $200 a night, have 40 suites, and each one of those is $5,000 a night or $3,000 a night. First of all, every room in a 400 room hotel will have, let's say, one person per room
Right.
as an employment, as a rule of thumb, let's say, or one and a half.
Hmm.
So that's like 600 people. But within the 40 suites, each suite will have 6 people to 8 people employed per suite, because
Really?
then you'd have, from every sort of house manager to this one arranging that, to that one arranging that. Say, call it
Right.
10 people a suite. So then you would have 400 people getting 5 times the salary that the 400 room hotel would be paying. The
Wow.
salary would be much higher. So then we increased, by doing that, by making it less capital intensive, because it costs a lot less to build 40 suites than it would
Right.
for the rooms.
Right.
So the investor has less risk for coming to a region where he doesn't understand, because most investors from Dubai or or Qatar or anywhere in the Middle East, they're not versed with doing investments in the Caribbean. They're not well versed in that. They rather put it into a fund or into a place that they know, or even invest at home.
Right.
So, but when you talk about having the opportunity to come and you're presenting something that you have a success model, which
Right.
is Jumbi Bay, that has worked so well,
Right.
and is now valued at over $1 billion, the entire resort. And you have that model showing success of great internal rate of returns and so on, and a small amount of investment. So your risk is very, very small and
Mhm.
manageable. It creates the perfect storm to come and create all of these boutique hotels in Antigua and Barbuda. And that is what has happened over the years, and how the model is changing. I mean, mostly to COVID has changed that model.
Right.
Uh, that it's, you get in a lot more space now, you get in a lot more luxury, and we have the entire region of the MENA region to cater to. So,
And
the
they're very family oriented. They
correct.
don't travel with,
No,
hey, the husband and the wife. They come with the housekeeper, the mother, the father. So they want to know that you are in a position to take care of them, their family, and make it family friendly. And you can service them cuisine wise as well. The
no,
gastronomy is very important to them.
correct. And we go further than that. So now that you get into the boutique, we operate probably, and in Antigua and Barbuda quite well, you would know that the fixed base operators, the FBOs, like that operate in Antigua, you come throughout the month of December or January, and at any one time you'll see 50 or 60 private planes parked up on our runway.
Mhm.
That's a huge market that the traveler, that level of traveler are coming in on their own planes. They have their planes or they're chartering their own planes.
Right.
Because, like you said, from the middle, they have that level of, right now, they're all traveling to like the Maldives, for example. They take their plane, they go over to the Maldives, they stay on this little island. You have to take another little plane or a boat for an hour and a half to get to a little island, because all resorts in the Maldives are on little islands.
Right.
My alternative is come to a different destination.
Right.
Everybody knows the Maldives. Now that's it. Okay, we're not competing with them. We're
Right.
just difference, because we have so much culture and flair among ourselves in the Caribbean,
Right.
that they are also inquisitive and they want to learn about us as well. So, and they love to enjoy different cultures, because, like you said, my mother used to tell me all the time, you know, she worked hard, very, very hard, to send me to school and to send me away to study when I had to do my university. And so
Right.
I better take the opportunity that she paying all this money for me to go overseas to learn different cultures and to make friends with people from around the world.
Right.
And that's what ends up happening. So you get culturized to every other place, and then you learn something new, something you see somebody operating in a different spectrum than you are or you're ever
Right.
accustomed to. Now, then seeing that, I'm able to bring that back home to try and introduce that to my friends and my peers and my colleagues, to say,
Exactly.
listen, there's a better way to do this. There's a better way of standard of living that we can actually achieve this. And the most important of it all is opportunity. Before, the only opportunity that people of the Caribbean had was to actually travel to go to the United States or the US Virgin Islands or Puerto
Right.
Rico. That
Right.
was it, and try and get some work, and you get paid in US, and you get your green card, and you try and, or students, we didn't have tertiary education. So I had to go away for university. Now, today, we have, thank God, and thanks to a great prime minister that we have, and visionary
Right.
Gaston Brown, we have a University of the West Indies fourth landed campus in Antigua and Barbuda. So
Wow.
that is creating opportunity for us, that we don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to brain drain all of our people from our country. We can stay there and we can create our own opportunity. Thanks to the internet, there are many things that are applicable now, using blockchain and all of these technologies, which
Right.
we've adopted in Antigua and we've taken seriously. And our government has passed legislation to adopt these things and to incorporate them. And so now we create opportunity among our people. We don't need to brain drain our people. You don't need to go to the United States to become the next Bill Gates.
Right.
You can
You can
stay
do it
right in Antigua and
now.
do it.
Right.
Right. It
And
just,
you guys have fabulous activities for people to do that normally would not be able, well, they wouldn't think you have the boating shows that come there. There's
correct.
so much. You have jazz festivals that come there. So when we talk about the Middle East, people seem to think like, oh, they don't travel, or they're afraid to travel, or they only go to Europe. But during Ramadan time, that's when they get up and they leave as a family. So making your destination an option for them. I think it's the most impactful thing. And young people are not like our mothers, our parents, and our grandparents that was a little hesitant about traveling and exploring new things. These kids will backpack and say, Dad, I'm leaving. I'll see you in a month. And they're going for a month at a time. And I
Yeah.
think COVID even brought that more,
Correct.
you
Correct.
know, said that I could work from home.
Not only work from home, but you can work from Antigua. So you
Exactly.
can, so we introduced a program called the Nomad program where you can
Right.
take your laptop, pick up yourself, and go and rent a place in Antigua and work from there. And we give you we give you your visa, like your work visa, to work for a year or 2 years, however long you like.
Wow.
And we introduced that program, and it was quite successful throughout COVID. Now, with all these different programs, I mean, like giving you an example, some of the people that I've interacted with and the young people in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and so on, um, you would find that they would normally uh, like be interested in sailing, for example. And I said, wow, you love sailing? You practice doing sailing right here in Dubai? I said, did you know that Antigua and Barbuda has one of the most famous sailing regattas in the world? It's called the Antigua Sailing Week. It's at the end of April, first week of May every year. And it's one of the most famous and sailing regattas. I said, if you're really interested, you should come down. Come to Antigua, visit it throughout that time, that sailing week, if you like sailing, and I'll make sure that I'll get you a spot on a race boat. I'll go on to a race boat, and so you can really sail for real, and you would do that. And then another person came to me and he's like, do you have any sort of free dive in there? I said, of course we do. We've taken it to the next level because now all of the young people in Dubai and so on, and I don't know if you've noticed, and it's something you can check. The Dubai just recently opened a couple of months ago, 3 months ago maybe, the deepest swimming pool in the world.
Yes.
So that is
Oh my
done to do
goodness.
free diving. So they do free diving around the world, Antigua being one of them. There's a big group of Antiguans that actually do free diving. But now they've taken it, those extreme sports, right, that they do, the young people have done, they've taken it to the new level. They're doing the free diving, but they're doing fishing with free diving. So they're
Wow.
spearfishing, at that depth under the water without any oxygen tank or anything like that. And it's a
Right.
sport for them. With the water sports, we're no shortage of water sports, from everything from scuba diving to kite surfing. Andre Philip, being the first world champion of kite surfer, is Antigua. Like, yeah, so we have, and then of course, a lot of people, especially out of Pakistan, India, all of those places, cricket. And, we have, you at any given time, and you drive through Antigua, you can see a game of cricket playing in the pasture. So, and we have, the most famous cricketers. We have the four knights, I like to call them the four knights. Sir Vivi Richards and Curtly Ambrose and Andy Roberts. And uh, the fourth one is Richie Richardson. They're the four knights of cricket for Antiguan cricketers. And so we have a diversity of,
Yes.
from water sports, from kite surfing to windsurfing to snorkeling to scuba diving to free diving to sailing to racing to anything that you anticipate or you think is your tranquility. We
Right.
have it in Antigua and we can provide it. And having that boutique style opportunity to proceed now, you find that Antigua is attracting the who's who in the world, and that who's who in the world always move as a gang together. They move together as a group.
Right.
And so now you're finding a lot more interest in that arena in Antigua and Barbuda, which is very, very good and satisfactory. And that is what I have been attracting in Dubai and the MENA region, is to attract that same caliber of clientele that would come and visit Antigua.
Oh,
Where else in the world would you go and you land in Antigua and you might have, like, if like, especially because it's a lot of word of mouth in those, and
mhm.
somebody else that I know would tell me, oh, we have a very VIP person coming, and next thing you know, the Minister of Tourism is greeting him at the airport. you know
Wow. How
so that's the sort of level that you get from having, us, or the benefits of being what we call ourselves, not a 5-star destination anymore, and certainly not a 6, but we'll call ourselves a 7-star destination. you know and I mean, I even dubbed it the 5-star investment center, is Antigua and
oh,
Barbuda, because we're now, branching off into different trying to get into not so
Right.
much dependency on tourism, because as we know what happened in COVID, where tourism were always dependent, and we
Right.
we had no money to survive for almost
Right.
a year and a half. We had to open very early throughout COVID. Our government managed it very, very well to keep our economy going, and you had to create that balance between lives and livelihoods.
Right.
Thank God it was done.
But your people are so resilient and they're so, but at the same time, just in my short visit, they didn't act in desperation. There wasn't this energy of, oh my God, what are we going to do? There was this tranquility and peace about them. We stayed at the Carlisle Bay
Hey,
Hotel, and it was literally like I was between two mountains, nothing but peace,
right.
nothing but peace. And I feel like when you live in a fast-paced cities and I called I call Dubai the Jetson, you know. It's so advanced. It's Vegas and Jetson all wrapped up into one. And I get excited when I follow Faza, one of the Sheikh's son, and he's just phenomenal because he literally goes through everywhere around the world just exploring it, and it opened up our mind as outsiders. It defied all the myths that we thought about the Arab culture, that people that have never had the pleasure of going to there and engaging with the people. I had the pleasure of growing up with Arabs. I've had the pleasure of going to Egypt and Qatar and other places, Ras Al Khaimah, in Abu Dhabi, and seeing the beauty and feeling at home. And now I feel like, well, it makes sense now, you with your Lebanese background, that you want to bring that rich culture to your new home, your family's home, and your people continually make everyone feel welcome. And you have beautiful forests. You have this green life around you guys. And the other thing that the Arab culture likes is the respect of their privacy. And I feel like that's what the island lends to people that want to visit. You can be as active as you want, or you can be as secluded as you want, So I feel like you answered questions 2 and 3, but give me some secrets that you think that people think they know about your country that they really don't, and why they need to come visit it.
Well,
And you can start by telling me about that restaurant that's coming with Mr. De Niro.
no, the restaurant is already there.
Hmm. Come
So,
on,
so
give us a
since
secret.
no, since 2015, Mr. De Niro and Mr. James Packer um, invested into a property in Barbuda,
Hmm.
sister island,
Hmm.
and they purchased out an old property that used to be in existence, an old resort. It was called the
Hmm.
Cape Club. They purchased it out because the lady, I think, had passed on and whatnot, and the estate was selling it.
Hmm.
And it was the intention back then, and it still is, to be created as a Nobu resort.
Bravo.
So Mr. De Niro, who is the one spearheading it,
Hmm.
um, and he has, with his partner James Packer, have now just relaunched, because after COVID and we had a very bad hurricane that flattened Barbuda in 2017, Hurricane Irma.
Mm.
Um, so then they now relaunched, and they're back together, relaunching the entire project. And in the words of Mr. Packer, he said that this will be the number one resort in the entire Caribbean. Um, so I think
That's a bold statement.
well, they're planning on beating out Jumbie Bay, which is in Antigua. So it's okay. We'll take it. We'll take 1 and 2. So, but and they're planning to spend $500 million building this resort in Barbuda, which is a Nobu resort. It's going to be spectacular. Now, along the way, um, Bob De Niro did open up the restaurant, Nobu Restaurant, which is the newest Nobu restaurant to open up worldwide. It's on their website. You'll see Nobu Barbuda. And people come by helicopter, by boat, by a little plane, by every which way to get to Nobu Barbuda, because
Right,
it's doing
right.
extremely, extremely well. And people are fascinated that you have this island, and that hardly anybody has heard about. And here you have a Nobu.
Right.
with Bob De Niro. At any given day, if you're there, you might just see him because he's there so often, in Antigua. I think he finds his tranquility there as well. And
Yeah.
he's proactive in actually letting the entire project uh, percolate around him. He
Mm.
wants it to organically grow into something great. And that's the only way you can make it the greatest resort, because you have to be in tune with what you know that your clientele or
Right.
your guest will really want. Like, you have to really know and understand your guest, and him being in his position where he is worldwide in that arena, it's just a natural fit that he would know, of course, who his clientele would be, who his guests would be to come and visit, and who would enjoy it the most. And that's what that resort is going to be. It's going to be spectacular. I mean, it's a great anticipation to see
Right.
what that would be. And of course, it creates, again, more opportunities for us young people in Antigua. We need opportunities. When I say opportunities, I don't just mean jobs, because jobs we can get anywhere worldwide
Right.
if we had to, but we don't want to. We want opportunities to be something special, to be creative, to
Right.
get that leg up, and not start with just minimum wage, but start with something significant, because we're skilled, because of what we have is so special, that what we're selling and sharing, and we're not selling, we're sharing it with the world. We get rewarded for how we present it, for how we treat it, their positions. And by another reason for having boutique resorts and moving it into that structure is that you'll find a lot of and well-to-do Antiguan and Barbudans will be able to be those investors. We won't have to depend on people from overseas to be those, because now all of a sudden it's manageable.
Right.
It's not, the risk is so much reduced that we can even borrow from our local banks and so on to do these projects ourselves, because it's manageable and we can organically grow it.
And
So
it sounds like you're entering into one of my favorite topic, and I'm going to be speaking to your other colleague about it, about sustainability, teaching your people of the island about sustainability of both life, culture, history, and finance and economic equity, gaining equity and investing it back into their own country, which is a beautiful thing.
correct. And also, it's one thing to create that, or to see it being created in front of your eyes, to have this, this is our time now. This is where we're able to shine, because we, we're promoted everywhere. We had the opportunity, we're given the opportunity to
Right.
showcase and to educate people about, even at Expo, you people didn't know where's Antigua and Barbuda. They were like, they would come in and it was the first time they've ever heard of that.
Right.
But I remember the first time in 2014 that I went to the United Nations General Assembly, and I looked around, and right next to us, there was a country called Vanuatu, and I was like, where in the world is that?
Right.
Or I saw something called the Solomon Islands, and I didn't know where that was either. And I never heard of it. And then now going to the Middle East and knowing, I went with the onset knowing that people just don't know where we are or don't know
Right.
who we are.
Right.
So discovering, and then when you tell people about all of this, oh yes, we have these sailing weeks, we have the largest yacht show in the Caribbean, yacht
Right.
travel show, charter show. We have, which happens every December. We have one of the best regattas. We have the number one resort in the world, in the Caribbean, and number five best in the world. You tell them these things.
Right.
Or we have, anything to do with, like, with the blockchain technology, and we have all of that. Or we have this and we have that, and they're like, "You're kidding me, right? Where have you guys been?" And we've always been here, but we were never exposed. And this is what Expo helped us to do, to a certain, area, and certain in the MENA region, especially, so that now that we can attract them to actually come. And lo and behold, we have, I would say, quite a few citizens of Antigua and Barbuda in Dubai and in the Middle East region. And they're citizens through our investment um, options that we have, the citizenship by investment program that we have.
Really?
Yes, so we have quite a bit, and maybe around 3,000-4,000 citizens in the MENA region alone that have invested in our citizenship by investment program. So
And I think that leads to another. I mean, I know this wasn't one of the questions that I sent you, but this is just so important because, I feel that wealth and racism and all of the isms happen because of lack of education. But it literally sounds like you have created an educational program so that wealth is built and wealth is shared by both cultures and globally, you know,
Correct.
which is a beautiful thing. I mean, we realize here in America, we have suffered greatly with since I think during COVID, because we all had to sit still. We saw racism just at a rise with the death of George Floyd, but then it became a global pandemic. Not only the racism, and not talking about only the pandemic itself, COVID, but everything rose to the top, and we were faced to deal with. We had to face it. We had to deal with it. And here you are taking the chance and risking and saying, you know what, we can heal this, and we're going to bring our country that other people don't know about and bring awareness and open up our doors and invite people in. Why was that so important to you? Why is that so important to you?
Because, you know, racism is real. It's all around the world. Um, but growing up in Antigua and Barbuda, until I traveled at a teenage age, I never knew what racism was. I never knew. And it was very disappointing when you learn about racism that this actually exists, because then you find out, well, what is the difference between me and my best friend that we grew up all our lives together? There is absolutely no difference in anything with us. But then, you know, as you get older and you come here, this is one thing that the Caribbean has that the first world, or the United States and the first world, most countries don't have. You guys have what you call minorities, you know, minority groups, whether you're African American, whether you're, you know, Latino, or whether you're whatever, you know, different. If you're
Right,
not a white Caucasian um, person, you're different. You're a minority.
right.
So we don't have that in the Caribbean. We, the, who you would call here in the U.S. minorities, we are it. So, so if you want to say for that word, the minorities is the president, is the prime minister, is the governor general, is the doctors, are the lawyers, are the business people. We are it. So there is no minority for us. The minority that we would consider a minority, we don't say that they're a minority. We don't even use that language, you know. We call them expats. An expat might come in, you know, like somebody that used to live in America,
Right.
or as we say, America, you know. And if you get too fresh with us, we send you Barbuda. You know? So it's it's something that I can we can go on about it, but it's not real for us. It doesn't exist for us because we don't know it. We don't know the same lifestyle. So when whoever comes to visit us, you're treated as our family. A matter of fact, our government operates as a family, by the way. All of us work it as teamwork within the government, and that's what makes us very successful at what we do. Um, it's the same way. Look at Dubai, you know, or the UAE. It's run by a family. The family are the ministers of cabinet. You know, the actual family, the brothers, the cousin, all of them are the actual ministers. The family runs the country. So if you can create unity within a government body to run and think about helping and the prosperity and the opportunities that you're providing to your citizens who you're governing, and you create that family bond, then everything else becomes so much easier that you're doing. So family is very, very important in everything that you do. But the way that we act as a family, that's why I said you might come tomorrow as a VIP guest in Antigua and you might see the Minister of Tourism greeting you at the airport. Reason being, because you're coming to our island, we're going to treat you as you're one of us. You understand? So you're not any different. So that's the love you're going to feel when you come by us or come and visit us or invest with us or be a part of us. And it, you know what it is? Happiness. It
Yeah.
gives you that sense of joy, happiness. You smile, and you, I mean, you find that you sleep better. You're healthier. Everything around you becomes a lot more pleasant, and you want to do it more often and often. And that's why, like now, I'm serious. You won't be able to get a place at Jumbi Bay until probably another 3 years from now because of those repeat clientele.
Right.
That is why more
Have their
is
peace.
correct, but that's why more is needed, and we have to develop more. And
Right.
that's what my job is to bring in that foreign direct investment into my country, and also look out for my citizens who are in the US, because we have as much citizens, Antiguan and Barbudans, in the US as we do in Antigua,
Mhm.
because they migrated in the 60s, the 70s, and so on.
Right.
So, and their families have grown and whatnot. And they're all my responsibility still, even though that they're dual citizenship with American, they're
Right.
still my responsibility.
That's such a beautiful thing. And it's so nice to hear that you care for your people and you embrace your culture so much that you want the rest of the world and the rest of the region to taste your country. And
Only the select few, only, only the ultra luxury.
and you're opening doors for us to also take a they can get a piece of it with their investment. What
Correct.
beautiful way to know that, you're not, when you spend your dollar, you're building something into it, it's getting it back. It's like buying a house.
Correct.
Every month you pay your mortgage, it's not going down the drain.
No,
You're
you're
getting
owning it.
something,
That's your equity.
exactly, and
Correct.
something you can give back to your children, your grandchildren, and so
That's
on
right.
and so on. And it's such a beautiful thing that you, as a man of both cultures, see the importance of it, of the unity and the importance of getting people together,
Yes,
you
but
know.
not only that, but for example, like the UAE are also the most generous in helping and supporting in times of crisis and so on. Speaking of Barbuda, I mean, even they gave a grant, and now Barbuda is 100% green energy because
Wow.
of the UAE, and that's the UAE providing that for Barbuda with a 1 megawatt facility, solar facility, and battery backup and everything else. So our aim for Barbuda is a 100% green. But more than that, the foundations in the United Arab Emirates, with the friendships that we've created,
Right.
they help us. So like, I would go to them for help and ask, with Dubai Cares, for example, and they've helped to renovate and upgrade a school in Antigua and Barbuda.
I
And
love
they're doing that, and it's grants. It's not I owe you or you owe me. This is, hey, you need some help. You're a good man, you're a good friend. Let's see how we can help each other. I've now recently gone to them. I'm putting in place a few different projects. One is an aquatic center that we need for our young kids in Antigua, because as you've seen in the news recently, we have a lot of kids who are getting gold and silver and bronze medals, but they need a facility to train. They
Right.
need, to improve and to have the opportunity to
Right.
get to that and to take it to the next level.
Right.
And this next session in the next 5 years, I would say we're definitely taking Antigua and Barbuda to the next level. So I've asked them, they're very favorable in assisting to create that aquatic center. I've now identified another area that we need a lot of help. And this is something that I learned at Expo, believe it or not. I found out that there are a lot of great artists in Antigua and Barbuda, like great. Like some of the paintings that I've seen and some of the works, and I've displayed a few. And believe me, when I told you I displayed it in Expo, I put up 3 paintings in Expo, and in less than 6 hours, it sold all 3 of them.
Wow.
So,
Congratulations.
and I mean, people like the painters, the artists are fantastic in Antigua and Barbuda, but there's no opportunity to showcase. So what we've created now is there's a group, they're looking at now creating a foundation of the art, and basically identified a building that they want to improve and create an entire art center. So
Wow.
I'm going to try and get the funding from the UAE to make that a reality,
Oh,
to make that happen for our artists. So between the aquatic center and the art at the art center, and also to have it also with to continue in the schools where you need that help. Those are things and areas that we keep on expanding to create the opportunities for our youth, to get them to the level of saying, we don't need anybody. We can do this on our own.
right.
And that's
And
what,
and I love that. And Sharjah,
yeah,
the other part of UAE, they have a strong mission when it comes to the arts. So I really think that this would be absolutely amazing for the UAE to be one of your biggest supporters. Like
Yes.
I feel it's going to happen. It's
But
going.
it's not only is it just showcasing the art, but we can be self-sufficient. So it's just a startup of it. And then my idea is you're going to have art classes within there, for the young people who are talented but just don't know how to
Mhm.
actually make it work. So
Right.
that will be a lot of classes given, and we can turn it into having it, from like a tour for the cruise ship passengers could actually have a tour to see all of the local art of Antigua and Barbuda. And
Wow.
that, in having that as a tour, you collect fees for entrance and so on. That supports and upkeeps the building and upkeeps the project for years to come, for generations to come. You do
Absolutely.
it properly, do it like a company, build a board of directors around it.
Right.
And you have this passed on and keep on going and going and going. And I already appointed Carolyn Punter to be one of the members of the board so that she can be involved in getting this art, because she's like telling me and texting me that she needs to be involved in that
Oh,
project.
let me tell you about Miss Carolyn. You guys have prime ministers that meet you at the airport. She
Yes.
flies with me, my friend. So I have the real deal. She's the real deal. When you
Yes.
want to talk about the real deal. And
Yes, yes.
it's because
But
of
you know
her
why?
that I
You
even
know
had
why? You know why? Because she's from Barbuda.
she's magnificent, and she's so passionate about the country, the culture, and making it globally known, not just in the US. I had the honor of meeting her during Jeff Red and Teresa's wedding, and we met just briefly, and her energy was just such, it was just bubbling over that you are drawn to her and you gravitate to her. And for some reason, I think she's how do I say it? She has that disease that Moses had. The waters part when Carolyn calls. There's something about it.
So,
Waters part and people just want to give her floods of anything.
so I'll tell you something. And and most Antiguans and everybody else is going to come down on me hard for this, but Barbudans are actually much nicer than Antiguans.
You're gonna get in trouble.
I don't care. I don't care because it's the truth. First of all, it's a much more beautiful island than Antigua
Woohoo!
by a factor of at least 10. Did you know that we have a 17-mile stretch mile of beach that is
Wow.
pink sands in Barbuda? Did you know that?
That sounds like I need to plan a shoot. So I have to call Adele Habib, the publisher,
Yes,
to come down there and shoot.
17 miles of a stretch of pink sand beach,
Wow.
right? With
That's
turquoise, crystal clear ocean, right? So in Barbuda, you can just put your hand in and pick up a conch or a lobster and things like that. You know what they say about Barbuda, right? That if Christopher Columbus comes back, he can still recognize Barbuda.
You guys are too much. And this has been so phenomenal. And I don't want it to end, but I have to. But I just want you to please tell all our readers and our viewers and our listeners, what's next and how can we make our trip down there and how can we invest, and just, you already made us feel invited. Give us your last word.
Well, if you want to be as cool as us, come and become an Antiguan citizen. We have a program called the Citizenship by Investment Program. Come, everybody's welcome. But I mean, you must go through a thorough due diligence. But other than that, if a straight and narrow up and a straight and narrow, then no problem. You're welcome to become an Antiguan citizen, and come join us. I mean, come experience something that you won't believe that's there. And it's not just Antigua; it's Barbuda as well. We often refer to Barbuda as that diamond in the rough,
Right.
but it's being polished now, and there's going to be organic development very slowly and very small development and boutique style and luxury and everything else, and so we are growing to that ability where we don't have oil and gas and we don't have natural resources to export and everything else. So what we export are ourselves, the love that we can give to you,
Right.
what we can offer you, and for you to come and feel at home and be better than you are here. We want you to have an ultimate experience to say, wow, and I want to do this again, and I want to continuously do this, every chance that I get. That's what we ultimately aim for. And we do it as a team.
Well, thank you so much. I felt it. I think that was one of my description when I wrote my article at World Bride. I literally said going to Antigua and Barbuda was definitely like going home to your grandmother and your favorite aunt's house that you knew you were going to be just loved and kissed on and fed, and you can just sleep in peace. So your
Keyword that you can't emphasize enough is fed.
Oh yeah, trust me. They overfed us then. I
But
think
that's what we normally say. We say, trust me, try this. You got to try this. You have to trust me. You have to try this.
it was wonderful. I can't thank you enough. So on that note, can you please tell us a website where everybody could learn so much about you and the culture and the people of the
I
region?
think we have different websites
Okay.
you can visit, but I mean, I'll make sure to send some to you.
Yes.
But I think Carolyn will be the better person to give you those websites, because I know the tourism department or the Ministry
Right.
of Tourism constantly do. We have one called, I think, visitantiguabarbuda.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's one, a very, very nice one to go to.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
different ones if you want different programs, if you
Yeah.
want to go to learn more about our citizenship by investment program,
Yes.
you can go on to, cip.gov.ag.
Okay.
That's a very good one
Wonderful.
to go on to if you want to learn about investing in Antigua and Barbuda.
Right.
And of course, have a look at all of the different resorts on visitantiguabarbuda.com. Have a look at Jumbi Bay Resort. Have a look at
Right.
Mill Reef Club. Have a look at Carlisle Bay. Have a look at all of them. All of
Yeah.
them.
And
Each
that's
one
the
is more
beautiful.
spectacular than the other.
But we talk about luxury, ultra luxury, and I don't want to scare people off and say, "Oh my God, I could never get there." You have places for every single human's price point, and
Yes, we do.
each place is going to make them feel just as home,
Yes,
just as though they were kings and queens themselves.
100%. You
So,
have everything, even starting, and actually, what has transpired a lot throughout COVID as well, you found that a lot of Airbnbs have popped up.
mhm,
And those are authentic experiences, amazing. Antigua and Barbuda is extremely safe. It is one of the safest places in the Caribbean anyway. So having a, don't fear going into an Airbnb. You have
right,
beautiful boutique couples only resorts, like you have the Sandals, the different ones. You also have like the latest one that was actually built and is stunningly beautiful. I haven't visited it as yet, but it's because it's very quite new, is the Hammock Cove. That's another one for couples only, but it is spectacular. I
mhm.
saw them. They're all infinity plunge pools in front of your cottage and things like that. I mean, it takes romance to a different level, and
Wow.
if you want to if you want to get back in love with your partner, go to places
Yeah.
like Hammock Cove, or anything, or even if you have a new girlfriend or boyfriend that you want them to fall to you. Those are the places that you can
Definitely
take
no
them.
place. And in the month of June is your romance. So anybody that's
Yes,
getting married, that got married in the MENA region, they can definitely go come to Antigua Barbuda to have their honeymoons and their
correct.
getaways and so on. So I really think it's pretty spectacular, the space
Yes,
itself.
yes. Love is in the air at all times in Antigua and Barbuda.
Yeah, it totally is. I
Yeah,
want to thank you again, Your Excellency. I think you're
yeah.
phenomenal. I think your young people, if they see you now in the street, they're going to talk to you, they're going to stop you, they're going to pull you over. They didn't realize how cool you really were.
Well, a lot of them are my friends. I'm blessed to call a lot of people in Antigua my friends. I have no enemies. I only have friends. I grew up that way. I'm
Yeah.
always happy-go-lucky person with everyone. So, and always trying to help.
Well, we see that. Thank you so much for your time. And well, guys, that was the end of the conversation. And I promise you, when you visit Antigua, Barbuda, I
There you
promise
go. There you go.
you guys got it right.
Yes,
Woo!
but
You guys are not going to be disappointed. Thank you so much.
thank
And
you.
this is the end of it for us at Sharp Magazine Middle East. Please continue to follow us on all our social media platforms. And please continue to read our articles. You will be reading this article. And I don't know how long it's going to be because there's so much content to give. Good night.